On today's episode of On the Bridge, I'm here with Captain Chris Halligan. Coming from a commercial background and now the captain of a 90-metre, I want to pick his brains on how he builds the best bridge team, how he manages the team and how he develops them, also how he's brought experience from previous positions to enable him to be the captain he is today. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. So let's kick off with, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your experience and what brought you to where you are today, because obviously you've come from a commercial background, then been instrumental on builds, worked as captains on boats, and now you are the captain of a 90-metre.
Yes, yeah, it sounds good when you say it like that. I was a commercial at the very beginning. So I started my cadetship back in 2003 over at Warsash. I did all my tickets over there, stayed commercial until I got my class 1 back in 2013. Primarily on cruise ships with a little bit of dabbling in container and some coal carriers, but that wasn't for me.
No.
So, certainly enjoyed the high life on the cruise ships, and then made my way across into yachts over in 2014 when I was part of the build team for the 156-metre Dilbar, and then stayed there for a few years and then worked on a lot of 100 metres, another 2 builds, one in Fedship, one in Benetti, and then moved over, promoted to captain, did some trips on some support boats, a 55-metre and a 70-metre, and now here I am on a nice shiny 90-metre as captain, so a lot of fun.
So what made you want to go from commercial then to super yachts? What was the deciding factor?
I had a family member that was already sailing as captain on a 90-metre super yacht, and it was always the stories around the dinner tables and things like that. My father's a chief engineer. He ended up starting in the yacht industry, but on a survey side of things. And then my younger brother is also an engineer. So
it definitely runs in the family.
Well, yeah, I'm the black sheep of the family. And they often remind me that oil always floats on water. And I say, yeah, but they haven't made unmanned bridges yet.
Yeah, so, exactly.
So it's always good conversation at the dinner table. But yeah, I decided that yachts was a pretty cool way to go, that one individual could own an asset like that. And, you'd pull into a lot of these places. In particular, I remember in St. Thomas and the US Virgin Islands, and you'd see Rising Sun and all the guys down there. And, you get some red rain and then straight out on it. And we just didn't have that on the commercial side. And just that level of luxury, I always knew I wanted to be part of it. That mixed with the stories and, I could see it was
and you've done your time in the commercial world and it was time to get on a white, shiny boat.
Yeah, I was certainly advised, look, get your sea time, because when you're commercial, every day counts towards it. So I literally got my ticket, did a couple more trips on board, paid off the training agreement, and then, moved over and did a relief trip on a 90-metre as second mate. And then moved over and fortunately got signed up for the build of Dilbar.
Yeah, great first gig.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
Baptism by fire.
Exactly.
Two years over in Bremen and Las Vegas sack, as we say, but that was really cool. Great turning point.
So you've come from a commercial background into super yachts. What have you sort of felt are the main differences?
Oh, it's chalk and cheese. When you're on the commercial side, and I'm speaking from passenger ships, my last passenger ship I was on was a 360-metre. I think we were 145,000. So we had up to 5,000 guests and 2,000 crew members. So you can imagine going from being one of 2,000 to then suddenly being on Dilbar it was one of 85.
Yeah.
I think it was 132 on payroll to now one of 27. The family vibe and the feel is completely different. From the commercial side of things, the boats are bigger, so you've got 3 cool cabins. I got up to a first officer over there, so it was all single cabins as your watch keepers. There's no days off on there. When you're on, and as a watch keeper, you'll do your 12 hours a day. If you're the 4 to 8 watch keeper, you'll have a junior watch keeper with you, but you do your 4 to 8 every day when you're signed on, which is typically 4 months on, 2 months off.
Oh,
you didn't used to get paid on leave either, so that was a bit of a difference in
Yeah,
that
so
mindset.
that's a big difference now
It was
for
huge.
super yachts and rotation.
Yeah, it was huge. And so you would do that, and then, but everything was on a timeline. You know, it's a business at the end of the day. So you had to make sure that your first line was on at 0700 and the gangway was set up for 8 o'clock because the tours were departing at 8:30, you know, and you had to sail on time so you get outside 12 miles so the shops could open or the casino could start dealing because it's a business ultimately.
Yeah.
So you're very much on a time scale. And then moving over onto yachts, I remember the first time I walked in onto a yacht, I was showed around and given shorts and t-shirt as uniform. I've come off from wearing whites with all the stripes and the hat and all of that lot to now in shorts and t-shirt, and then invited down to the crew mess where you go and take your food, and you know, you could open up the fridge and get a can of Coke or a bottle of water and you didn't have to pay for it, because on the cruise ships you had to go to what we call Cambusa and buy your bottles of water and buy your cans of Coke and go down to the cruise shop to get your toothpaste and things like that. And here there was a cabinet full of every toiletry you want, you know, from shower gel, face wash, Q-tips, that sort of thing. So that's when I knew, well, you know, this is
I've hit the jackpot here.
This is pretty cool. You know, this is awesome. And it was also the mentality with the crew. You know, you were a number on board. You know, you had your clique of people like the bridge team. You knew everybody intricately, and you knew the engineering team. But you know, one of 2,000 people, you're not going to know everyone.
No,
you know, there would
you can't.
often be cases where you'd see someone sign on, and then 4 months later you'd sign off. You'd say, "Hi, nice to meet you," and they've been on board for 5-6 months already.
Oh, gosh.
But on the yachts, it's a family feel.
Very much so.
And that's what's important. You know, when you're one of 30 or one of 40 crew members, you know everyone. You have time to sit down and get to know one another, and crew meals, drinks. It's a lot more approachable. And certainly on the yachting side, you know, we have to remember it is a hobby for a wealthy individual. So our level of service is second to none. You know, anyone watching this will know that you don't say no. You always offer an alternative. Obviously, safety is a completely different side of things, but where you can. But it's never no. It's always, you know, we're not available to do this. So what I propose is X, Y, or Z. You know? And it's just that completely different level of service that we all provide, that what we do. And you're so reliant on your team, because the yachts are still getting bigger. They're massive volume yachts. It's a lot of work. And you have the ability to now interview crew members, see what they're on about, see what they're wanting out of it. And
they have to fit the rest of your crew, right?
Are they
so
going to fit in?
that the crew gel together and work well under pressure.
It's all about crew dynamic. Crew dynamic. And you know, you've got to ask yourself when you're interviewing someone, could I go out for a beer with these guys? You know? And you know, how are they going to fit in with the dynamic that we've got going on board at the moment? So it's a huge change, massive culture shock. For the better. I think that I've made my bed in the yachting industry now. I thoroughly enjoy it. I like the approachability between my current owner and his family. And once they accept you, as any captain will tell you, and you know, there's still a very, very fine line. There's still the boss, but you've got to have that rapport with the owner to find out what he likes, what his needs are, and you know, customize your itinerary, your plans, your crew for his needs or her needs. You know, it's very important.
So on your current vessel, you did inherit some crew, but also you have some new crew. So I'm interested to learn about how you create the best team dynamic for the bridge team, how you have picked the people for the bridge team, and how also you support and develop them.
Well, again, it's I've taken quite a commercial approach to this, which was a bit of a culture shock for some of the guys I'm currently sailing with, as they've done their whole tickets and their whole experience is yachting, and they've not had a commercial captain before. But equally, in the same breath, you know, there's a lot more commercial captains coming over to the yachting industry, because the boats are getting bigger and the ports aren't, but the boats are. So there is a lot more commercial side coming over, but you know, you can't force feed this down the yachting route at all. You know, you don't want to upset the apple cart, so to speak. So it's all about drip feeding and just not necessarily changing everything, but just suggesting what we could do to make small improvements and take the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
If I've got a super experienced chief officer who's followed yachting his whole career, and I've been, you know, predominantly commercial, it's really important that we meet in the middle and see, right, just because I'm the captain, you know, I always love to hear what other people's thoughts or opinions are, take it and say, right, look, well, let's try it this way, and then we'll try it that way. But in trying to install confidence in a bridge team, first and foremost is important. And, you know, I say that I have an open door policy because there should be no one that's scared to come and speak to the captain. That's our job, you know.
And what about sort of when you're building the bridge team experience wise? Obviously on the boat you're on at the moment, there's a lot of levels of crew because the boat's so big. So what do you look for? Because we've spoken many times before about how your role as a captain on board that boat means you're not necessarily doing passage planning and things like that.
No.
You've got your team to be able to sort of do a lot of the preparation, and then you then obviously plan things with the owner to ensure they get the best experience. So when you're looking for your chief and your second, what are you looking for in them as crew members?
A great question. It's well, communication is key, you know, with anything on this one, and it's level of experience to an extent. You know, there's nothing against any greener crew, but if you've been doing it long enough, then you've learned from past experiences. But I think that's if you're in a chief or second or third role, then you've been at sea long enough in order to get your ticket, so you've got an element of experience.
Yeah.
And it's being proactive, which I really like. And, you know, just because you're the captain, you know, you are judge, jury, and executioner, but at the same time, you don't have the answers for everything. So I'm really reliant on the team to bring things to the table. So now it's coming up with all these itineraries and plans and restaurants and logistics for transfers, etc. And I rely a lot of that on the bridge team as well, and the interior.
So it's a real team effort. Without the purser, then there's a lot of logistical things that you have to organise also.
You're no one without a team. You know, you need a team. Yeah, I know the captain's at the top, but you're only as good as the guys that you're sailing with. And I'm a firm believer in that. I'm very fortunate. I've got a phenomenal team, and they really do go the extra mile. And I think that it's just installing confidence in people, which is important. Don't be scared to think out loud. And, you know, that's one of my traits that I've brought from commercial, closed loop communication and think out loud. You know, if you say it, if you think it, say it. So I think it's, you know, the key trait to me is proactivity, communication, and also we work there, but we also live there. So it's about having, again, I dwell on about dynamic, but, you know, we're all colleagues at the same time, as well as, you know, you try to be friends within the limits.
Of course, yeah.
But I think that's the best way to install it. Good safety culture is really important on board. Yeah. And to just know that when it's called upon, they will have no problem going that extra mile. Yeah,
they've got your back, and they have the same vision as you of delivering the service.
We just got to look after number one, who's the boss.
Yeah.
He says jump, we say how high. And as long as we're all in it together, then it's only going to reward the owner.
Sure. And that's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
That's the ultimate goal. Yeah. He pays the bills.
Yeah.
So we got to make sure that man, every time he steps foot on and off that boat, he's smiling.
Yeah. So as sort of the bridge team leader, what measures do you take to stay up to date with latest technologies and bridge regulations and things like that, so that your team and you are always staying at the forefront of safety and making sure that obviously you are running the correct systems, etc.?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, one of our management companies' jobs is to forward us any NM notices from flag state, which keeps us up to date with all of that. We do have Compass, which is a great facility, which is combined with our Regs for Yachts login. So it's also once weekly, we will log in, we'll check, and we'll see what's actually changing.
So when you say we, I'm interested because I know we've spoken about this a lot previously, but what I love so much is that your bridge team obviously use Compass and you use Compass in different ways.
Yeah.
But also it's allowing them to obviously stretch all the muscles of being able to do different things that historically maybe in a chief officer or a second officer they might not get the chance to do.
Yeah, no, massively so. I mean, when I was a junior officer working my way up, the one thing that you don't want to be asked is a question by the captain and not have an answer.
Sure.
If I've just read an M notice or whatever, and you walk onto the bridge and you want to discuss it with the guys and they haven't read it, well, they instantly lose a little bit of face. Not that it's a bad thing, but then why give yourself that avenue, you know? So the guys, they're on it. They read these things and we forward them. We put in the MAIB report. There's CHIRP as well, which has come out about the safety bits, which are great for yachting. So we print them, we discuss them. We tend to do desktop exercises a lot and bridge team meetings. The second officer is very much the navigation officer, so he's really clued up with more so than me, you know, with the ECDISC and with Compass as well. I'm very much an operational user. I know how to log in and check the various things that we need to check. But it's also now becoming more apparent. There's a lot of like captain WhatsApp groups.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of times where as captain, you're expected to know absolutely everything. You simply don't know everything. And it's okay to reach out and ask your colleagues in the industry. And when you've been doing it long enough, you form your own little network of people. And, you know, if you're not sure of a regulation for going into to somewhere, then chances are you can send a message or go on social media and someone's done it, someone's made the mistake, and you can learn from it, you know, and that's what I do. I get asked a lot of the times about X, Y, and Z, and you can just give your experience. So it's about, again, this all forms back to communication.
Yeah.
You've got all these different social media sites, Compass, WhatsApp groups, and use your network. Don't be afraid to reach out.
There are some great people in the industry, aren't there?
We're really lucky. And when you've been doing it long enough, I've been in the industry a while now. I've been in, seafaring for a long time, and it's amazing the community that builds up. I do have to admit, dsnm introduced me to a lot of great contacts and companies. I'm very lucky that I've got a lot of contacts, which I know that if I'm not sure on something and I'm struggling to find the regulation, I can send a message or pick up the phone and ask for advice. And I think that's really important, you know.
And that's then, I guess, what you're imparting on the rest of your bridge team, that openness to be able to ask for help if you need it.
If they see me asking for help, chances are they're going to do it as well.
Yeah. And the way that you then share, so your second officer, obviously he has his role with regarding to the ECDIS and perhaps updating certain things. And then maybe the chief is in charge of something else. And then, like you say, you're much more of a sort of mediator between the owner and the two other members of the bridge team. But actually then you're all checking everything together.
Absolutely.
So actually you're allowing them the freedom to be able to experience all those things, which you have done in previous roles, but also just making sure everything is how it should be.
Everyone that's gone to sea and has got a ticket, be it from a technical side of things, from a fourth or third engineer, they ultimately, you got that ticket, you're probably aspiring to being a chief engineer.
Sure.
Same with a third officer. You know, if he's gone to the ticket, right, that's probably your career now. You're aspiring to be a captain one day. So it's really important to understudy the person above you. And I think that's really important, because then soon you're going to be thrown in the deep end and you don't have that person to go to.
Yeah.
So you do have to tread water for a little while, but it's really important that you part your knowledge on to the new generation. You know, he says that only is 40 years old, but you pass it on to the new generation. So when it's their turn to step up, it's a smooth transition and they're already in the confidence.
Yeah.
So one of your questions was, what do I look for in a bridge team member? And I think it's like being a utility knife. You've got to be versatile. You've got to be adaptable and not be afraid to ask questions and, help with answers. So don't just come to me with a problem. Come to me with a problem and a solution, and we'll work it through together.